Because young people act like old people didn't go through what they went through. I mean, that's just the craziest thing to me.
No, we don't act that way. It's just a lot of old people act like they don't know that young people are going through stuff that they've been through.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Most of the stuff that young people have done, older people have gone through or done. However, the stakes have been raised, and it is a different thing. I would not want to be a young person today. I think that there's a lot more pressure and a lot more stuff, and so older people have to listen to younger people need to listen to older people too, because they have wisdom to help them navigate through those things. Now, some of the stuff is new, or I should say it's not new, it's amplified, it's magnified. Yes, we had bullies when we were kids. Now you've got cyber bullies.
Yeah.
So nothing is new, but it's magnified and it takes on a different proportion.
Yeah.
And so it has different ramifications on people spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically. So there has to be a lot of dialogue between young people and older people.
That's it, and understand it. And I feel
Yes,
like
but see what happens is young people get up and they think that, well, we should have a voice and everything. Well, yeah, but you need to temper your voice because there's some things you need to know before you raise your voice.
I really feel like the reason why it's this way is because of the radical feminist movement going on right now.
It's crazy. And I'm like, empower yourself for what?
We're going to really talk about that because that radical movement, I need that one. Okay. So who's that praise of you? Do you mind?
What? Oh, Heavenly Father, we give you praise, honor, and thanksgiving. You are such a good God. You are a good Father. You are a good shepherd. You are a provider. You are our all in all. And we give you thanks this day. We are truly grateful to be able to be called your children and call you our Father God. So bless our time here. Let this interview just flow in the way that you would like it to. Let your message be heard resoundingly above all other voices. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Womanhood. This is your host Anansa, and today with me we have McKinney. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
Got in your house and I'm seeing a lot of artifacts, like
Yes.
a collector of acts.
Yes. I got teased when I moved back to Ghana because my friend said, so you took too much art out of Ghana and you
Yes.
said bring my stuff back.
Okay, but then it's like it's a specific theme, structure. What motivated that? What motivated you to get all these, especially like African women with babies?
Yes.
And it's just all black painted. What was the motivation behind it?
Well, I'm happy to be a black person and I'm happy and proud to be African. My father is Ghanaian, my mother is from Barbados, West Indies, and I was born in London, and I lived in the States for many years. So I call myself a citizen of the world or West African.
Well, basically, dive more into this is
Yeah.
the world. But before we start the show, we have this segment called Yes or No.
Okay.
So I ask you questions and then you just answer yes or no.
Okay.
Are you ready for it? Okay. Do you cook?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you live without the internet?
I don't know. That one's a baby. I
Yes
gotta
or
pick
no?
one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Okay. Have you ever sent a text to the wrong person?
Yes, of course.
Have you ever lost a fight?
Yes.
Are you concerned about what others think of you?
Sometimes, not a lot.
And what fights have you lost? I'm curious about that one.
Just now that you've asked me, I have to think about it.
You have to really think that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just know I have because one must lose a fight every now and then.
I'm going to try and juggle your brain for you to remember something. So, growing up, because I know you were born in the UK, from a Barbados mom and a Ghanaian dad. How was that for you growing up?
Well, it was transitional at best because I was born in the UK and around the age of 2, my uncle came and took me off to Barbados where I went to school until 7 when my mom married an American and we moved to America. So I went through a lot of changes in a very short bit of time and 3 different accents.
How was the transition for you, would you say?
Well, it definitely had an impact on my life because I was always the last person coming. You know how it is versus when you grow up with friends in a neighborhood. So I was kind of always very different on the outside looking in, trying to find and make my own space. And actually sometimes being a bit bullied because of those differences. So I can't say that childhood was a delightful thing for me. You couldn't probably pay me to go back and do anything.
You wouldn't do.
No.
So during your childhood, and you mentioned about being bullied, did you have any hobbies that you could run away from, and then kind of like run away from your childhood and just really enjoy yourself in your hobbies and enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I love to read. I love to write stories, and I love to scribble. So I was a bit of an artist as well. So I would draw and doodle and make pictures and write and read. Those were my things.
Reading was your thing. Did you pursue that in school?
I did, but not consciously. I think I kind of just flowed into it. I realized that my favorite topics were creative writing. I did take an art class. I was involved in music. I love to sing. I loved music. I would go down to the basement of our house and put on my mom's old records from England and sing along with Della Reese and Dinah Shore and all those people. Yeah, so that was my world. I created for myself.
So was this singing and writing, was it from London, from England, Barbados, and America, or this hobby start to generate from America?
More when I was in America, because of course those are the years I remember most, but that's when I think those things started to become a foundation in my life, so to speak. Yeah.
So how would you say your childhood growing up in America was?
Traumatic.
Would you be able to express that more for me?
Well, it was traumatic because I was a foreigner. When I came from Barbados to Muskegon, Michigan, of all places, and Muskegon was a small town where a lot of Southerners had migrated north. So they were working in the steel mills, and there were factories, and that work was going on. And I came with my West Indian accent, sounding like Rihanna, with my gold bracelet.
Oh, you do.
And I was also quite brilliant because I had gone to school in the British education system, which is far advanced from the U.S. system. So I went from like kindergarten to, first grade to third grade, like within months. And then people began to think, well, she thinks she's something. Well, I didn't think I was anything. I was just trying to adjust. I was also extremely thin with my glasses, and I had a big gap between my teeth. So I was quite a sight with this accent, and they just thought that I was weird. So I didn't really fit in. And then I didn't know we were living in the ghetto. We were living in the ghetto. So here I am, sounding rather aristocratic in their minds, in a ghetto setting. And it's funny because I still have friends from my childhood from that neighborhood. But it was a tough time. Really tough time of adjusting culturally, and all the rest. Yeah.
Did you at any point got to that kind of realization that you were unique and you were different and you actually embraced that, or did it take time for you to get to that point of embrace it? You
Probably didn't get there till about high school, to be perfectly honest.
And what's like that?
I auditioned for a play and I got a lead part, and people were like, oh, all of a sudden I had these abilities to sing and do things, and so I started to take on another type of a persona of things that I was special, that I could do, that were excellent, that were excelling above other people. So I started saying, oh, okay, life isn't so bad. I need to just continue on the track of the things that I love to do and lose myself in that. And that's really what I did. Those things were tools of survival for me. I remember being in junior high. We moved to the Heights, and it was kind of a rough place. And kids fought a lot at school, and I was terrified of all of that because I was so small and I was different, and they were always picking on me. So I found out that if I made them laugh, they left me alone. So I was the one. I became a comedian. In class, I would say funny little things, and everybody would go,
And you got in trouble with the teachers for it?
You know what? The teachers felt so sorry for me because they knew that I was being bullied a lot. So that I kind of got away with things. I was teacher's pet because I was smart and also a victim, so.
Yes, that's too much.
Yeah.
So when did the bullying stop for you, would you say?
The bullying stopped when I snapped. I snapped one day.
So now we have the fight. So now we juggle the mindsets about the fight.
Well, there were two things that happened. One earlier, but I kind of went back and we moved to a different neighborhood, so the cycle started over again. My mother actually threatened to beat me if I came home with one more torn dress. So that day, I just fought for my life and probably almost killed the girl. It took me about 4 people to pull me off of her. And actually, I was fighting so aggressively because I was afraid that if she got one punch in, I'd be leveled. So I figured I had to get her out first. The second time was in junior high. Something happened. I had a solo and I was supposed to be making a choir robe to sing in, and I had loaned a piece of my pattern to this young lady and she refused to give it back and a piece of it was missing, and I just went ballistic and I turned into a bully. I just threatened her. I told her I would hurt her in ways that I can't say on television. So after that, they just decided I was crazy and people began to leave me alone.
So you snapped and now you left.
You know, sometimes you just gotta snap it like, yeah.
But did you continue snapping?
No.
So you just did once just to prove a point that cross my line and I'll check you.
Yeah, I'm about a every 3 year snapper. Like, you know, stuff has to build up and then I just
that type of snap
blow
is
off the
dangerous.
steam, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting better now. I'm healing.
So now I know you were into writing, music and everything.
Yeah.
Being an author of like the best-selling books. How did your writing divert into that for you?
Well, what actually happened was I wanted to be in fashion. And I had a boyfriend who was a fashion designer. So he was trying to talk me into coming to Chicago to a fashion school. And being from a Ghanaian father, my father said, no, get a real job. Study something that's, you know, a real career. So I switched to commercial art and discovered that I loved it. I ended up working for the largest Black advertising agency in America, writing commercials for Ford Motor Company, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, all the big chip companies, and it was quite glamorous, and we were flying to New York and California.
And I heard you did voiceovers with them.
Oh yes, I did voiceovers. Well, I kind of slid into it. My life has been very organic. I kind of I studied that, and then I went and got this job, and it kind of brought me full circle back to all the things that I really love, music, writing. I was hired as an art director though, because I literally art directed. I did the boards, you know, the television boards, and sketched out the print ads. And then one day I couldn't find my writer, so I wrote the script myself. And they said, "Oh, you can write it." But I said, "No. They said, "Yes, you're gonna write." So they took away my writer and made me start writing my own scripts. So that's how I evolved into copywriting and then the production of radio and television and print advertising. So along the way, when I did presentations to my clients, they said, "Well, you sound good doing. You should do the real one." So that's how I ended up.
We need to keep them in suspense.
Wow.
Okay, we're gonna go for a short break. We're
Okay.
gonna come back and then talk more about how you ended up in writing, because that was your passion.
Sure.
And was that the initial thing you wanted to do in college? But let's keep you guys in suspense for that. You're watching Homeland and Sorry Never Telling, and this is your host, Anasa. Don't go anywhere. Get yourself some coffee, some tea, a glass of water, and relax.
Alright, let's start back.
You ready?
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Homeland. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. And of course also into Michelle. So Michelle, when you're talking about how you were even doing the voiceover, and then they took your rights, they took your rights away from you, and then you had to do your rights as well. How was that journey for you?
Oh, I was just rebelling because I felt like they were trying to get extra work for less money. So that was really my only point. I didn't really mind doing it because I knew that if I wrote my own commercials, there'd be no fight about who would get to go and shoot it. So once I figured that out, and that was my strategy for always traveling and going on glamorous production trips. So I didn't mind.
So this is a hobby. It started off as a hobby.
Yes.
Now turned into a source of income.
Yes.
How is that for you? Like looking back, right, and reflecting, and how is that? Like how does that feel? Because not everyone, I guess, should have their hobby as a source of income.
They could. They just don't understand that the thing that is their hobby is the thing that's their gifting and the thing that's what they were created to do, and they can't figure out how to make money from it. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I landed quite unknowingly into the midst of everything that I love doing and being able to get paid for it. So I loved my job, and I knew that that was just a gift to be able to get up every morning and go to work in a place that wasn't really work to me. It was like play. And it was so much fun. It was quite heady at that time because it was at the height of when advertising was a big deal, and Burrell was a big deal because they were this huge major black company, and we had a reputation for having all of those beautiful women work there, and reps were always wooing us. Yes, reps were always wooing us for photographers and directors, so we were being wined and dined, and there were lots of parties, and when you went on production trips, you'd get free theater tickets, and or if the awards were going on, like the Soul Train Awards, America Music, you got to go. You know, so it was rather fabulous. Oh, yes.
So when
I
did
worked
you
with a lot
realize,
of celebrities.
when did you realize that was your gift? Because it's hard for you to figure out, you know what, this is like, when did it click in your head, like these things are my gifts, like, I know they're my gifts.
Well, it flowed naturally for me, and at that time,
Did you connect the dots then? When it
I did not, because I didn't know the Lord at the time. And right as I got hired at Burrell, my boyfriend got killed, and it kind of made me spiral into a whole spiritual odyssey to find the Lord. And once I came to the Lord, then things started to fall into place in my understanding. I don't think that I had a clear understanding that I had a gift or anything. I was just following the breadcrumbs on the road to the Wizard of Oz, you know, kind of speak. So for me, it wasn't until I began to draw closer to God and know His Word and understand how He's wired us and how He's constructed us, that He's created us all with innate gifts. And if we allow Him to blow on those gifts and give us a strategy on how to use those gifts to bless others and prosper ourselves, that can become our life work. So somewhere along the way, as I walked with God, those things clicked in my mind. The light came on.
So now you're a writer, you're a director, you're commercial. So now how did that end up with singing? When did the singing start?
Oh, because when we did our presentations, you had to do the act, you know? So for those of us who could sing, it always helped us sell our commercials better. So I was writing radio commercials and stuff, and I would go and work with the producer, and I'd say, I kind of hear it like this. And they'd say, how? And they said, but you can sing a little. Why don't you go in the studio and do the demo? So then they would hear the demo and be like, wow, you're great. You should just do the final. So one thing evolved into another, yeah.
Do you start off with gospel songs? Because I know you have gospel albums. Do you start with gospel songs, or it's just like?
Oh, no. I wanted to be a rock star first thing. Let me just.
So do you have any?
You know that I wanted to be a rock star. When I was a little girl, I used to watch all the musicals, like Funny Girl, and Barbra Streisand was my icon, and I wanted to be a chocolate version of Barbra Streisand. So I sang with Nancy Wilson and Barbra Streisand and Della Reese. All those classic singers were the people that I loved. And so for me, I had this dream, you know, that one day I would sing. I would be a singer. And I got involved in groups along the way, but you know, they were secular groups. And I had a very fun group that I was in Chicago when I quit. The guy pulled a gun on me. So that was the lane I was in, you know.
We're not gonna skip that part. We just had someone pull a gun on you.
Yeah.
Yes, what? Gun?
He was crazy, but I loved his music. And
Wait, hold up. So someone pulled a gun on you,
Uh-huh.
but then you love his music still. How
he
did that
was-
story?
He was very creative. I mean, his name was Prince. Not the Prince, but he really had a very eclectic, very great. So I joined his group, and then my boyfriend wanted me to get out of it. He was a little upset, so he pulled a gun on me. He didn't want me to get out of the group, but I did get out of the group. It was a little frightening. That convinced me that I really did want to get out of the group.
So that gun was an exit for you.
Yeah, that was an exit
Stay.
for me. Yeah, but I mean, I love music, and about the time when I was in the advertising arena, I met some young guys that wanted to form their own jingle company and do music for radio, and I told them I would work with them. I did, and so after we would do our work during the day, at night we would write songs together.
Okay.
And I ended up getting us a music publishing deal. And two of those guys are now the producers for Chris Brown, Rihanna, Beyonce, and lots of famous people. So they continued in the secular arm of the business. I got out and started to write books.
What
and went
made
in
you?
another direction.
What made you get out?
I was growing deeper in my walk with the Lord, and when we got the publishing deal, the publisher wanted me to write really risque lyrics, and I said that's not my lifestyle, that's not what I want to promote, and we had a lot of back and forth fights about that, and so I asked to get out of my deal because I wasn't going to compromise who I was and my walk with God. And so sometimes I look back and go, was that a good idea? But I think it was because the music world is very dark, and I have a lot of friends in it, and I know that that's not the life for me in that genre anymore.
So what sparked you to want to do gospel albums? What was the motivation behind it? What was the inspiration behind you doing gospel songs?
Well, that actually goes back to, I don't think it was ever a conscious decision. When I came to the Lord, of course, I was in church. I started being involved with praise and worship. I would write some songs. Somewhere along the way in there, people started inviting me to sing. And during that time, a lady came up to me, because I would always kind of talk to calm my nerves before I sang a song. She said, "You could really be a great speaker." And I said, "I would do that." She says, "Yes, you would." And my sister trained speakers. I think so. I ended up in her class. She said that I was very good, and so she signed me to her speaking agency. Around the same time, my first book came out. And I should back up and say I was in advertising. I was really struggling with being a Christian single, and I had a mentor that was walking me through the process. And as I began to make peace with where I was and who I was, she suggested that I write a book on the things I had learned about being a Christian single. So I kind of like wrote down a chapter and forgot about it. And then I left the agency. I got laid off from work actually, and I was on my way to a voiceover audition. I got hit by a car. And so while I was in bed for about 1.5 years, 3 surgeries, learning to walk and all of that, I finished my first book, and it became a bestseller. In 12 weeks, it sold out of its first printing of 12,000
the
copies.
worst moments of your life generate the best results.
Most definitely, you said that very well.
And that would be the bestsellers. Like, would you look back and wish that never happened, or you wouldn't change anything?
Oh, you can't change anything, because if you do, it throws everything else off. So it was a very painful time, but it bore a lot of fruit in my life. It changed my life completely. So, after the book thing, people started calling me and asking me to speak.
Yes.
So I would always like sing a song before I spoke. So then people would come up and say, "Do you have a recording of that?" I was like, "Really, a recording?" And I met a friend of mine who's a big gospel singer in the States, Terry Tripp, and he said, "You need to do your own project, and I'm going to do it for you." So he invited me to come to Nashville. I stayed in his home, wrote songs, and we recorded my first project. And it sold very well. As I went around traveling all over the world speaking, I also had music CDs along with my books.
Okay, now I see how all that full back.
Yeah.
We're gonna go for a short break and then we're gonna come back with more of the show. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
That. And then also support. Hello, welcome back to the Home Line. I hope you enjoyed as much as I am. And I told you, to have Michelle with us, I'm going to continue talking about how your journey was in America. Because I know everything's going well for you. You were a TV presenter, like a point in time you were a host.
Oh yeah, won an Emmy Award. Yes.
How did that fall in place for you? How did you end up as a presenter?
Well, I had my books, and I was invited to have an interview at that station. And when I went, they said, "We need to talk to you." Now, ironically, a friend of mine had heard that they were auditioning for this show, and I was traveling. I don't know where I was. I came back, and she had left a message on my machine. "I put you down for 2:30 for an audition for this show because I think you'd be great." Oh, okay, I guess I better show up. So I went to the audition, and I thought I did really well. And then later someone told me I didn't get it, and I said, "Well, that show isn't going to last because that was my chair." And I guess that was very prophetic because the show didn't last. And then I went back for an interview, and they said, "We need to talk to you." And they were revamping the show. And and that's when I became.
So you said the show that lost is that is your chair.
That was
and
my
then
chair.
the show that lost, and then you still got your chair.
I got my chair.
Say what you want.
I'm telling you, I was totally convinced on that. So, yeah, it was a great show. I did it for 12 years, won an Emmy. Our show won about 4 Emmys altogether collectively. Then I did another show in the States called 3B Woman,
Yeah.
and that ran on TCT. And I did it with a friend of mine, Delia Knox, who was a big gospel singer there, who had been paralyzed. When I met Delia, she was paralyzed from the waist down. She'd been paralyzed from the time she was 19. And when we went to tape our first show, after we taped her in a wheelchair and everything, we had to redo the set just for her. The next time we went to tape, Delia was walking. She was miraculously healed, and she's walking on 6-inch Louboutins today. So.
This is a miracle. I don't even know. I'm
Yes. Every time I'm with her, I still can't get over it. I just look at her, I go, I cannot believe. I mean, I've known Delia for forever, and it's just, she's just amazing. And it just reminds me that God does do miracles.
That's the miracle. So even till 2019, he still does his miracles. Now you have everything going on in America. What made you want to come to Ghana?
Well, once again, God takes lemons and makes them lemonade. My father passed away, and he kind of left instructions for me to take care of a bunch of stuff, which I thought I deluded myself into believing I could have the best of both worlds. So I was initially flying between Ghana and America like every other month, and I was so exhausted. And one day I was speaking at a women's conference in America, and this guy was singing this song, Matthew West. And the song was called Motions, and it said, I don't want to go through the motions. I don't want to spend one more day without your all-consuming passion inside of me. I don't want to spend my whole life asking, what if I had given everything instead of going through the motions? And it just cut me so deep that day, and I just started praying and weeping as he was singing, and I was like, yes, God, I don't want to go through the motions. I want to do whatever you want me to do. Go wherever you want me to go. Say whatever you want me to say.
Did you mean that? Go wherever you want you to go.
You know we say this. And God said, good, move to Ghana. And I was like, oh, say that, rebuke you. Where's that voice?
How was it transitioning for you? Did you go through some challenges while you were here?
I cannot, people ask me that all the time. They say, well, oh, how was the adjustment? I never felt like I made an adjustment. I just had to find new ways of adapting to things that I hadn't experienced before. I would say that. I find the spiritual climate here rather interesting. It's very intense as opposed to where I was. Even though I was in a support system of people who were very serious about their walk with God. Actually, very serious. So playing with God was not accepted, and we held each other accountable. The spiritual climate here is very intense. I'm concerned about a few things. There are things that I'm happy about, and there are things that I'm sad about.
Can you give examples of things that you're happy about?
I am happy about the heightened awareness of God and the need to know Him. And the fact that people take that very seriously. That you have to be some sort of person of faith, and that we are a largely Christian nation. And that I can go on any secular program and start talking about God, and nobody's going to shut me down. Whereas in America, you have to be very careful with that. If it's a secular show, you got to keep God out of it. So I love the fact that God is integrated into everything. What I'm sad about is that I find that a lot of people who say they're Christians don't integrate God into their lives. So the word is over here and they're over here. Whereas God wants to become a part of our DNA. So that we live and breathe and look like Him.
So would you say morality and religion here is separate?
Yeah, they're separate issues, and we blame it on culture and tradition, and God supersedes culture and tradition. So He does not accept those excuses. So for me, that's a passion that I have to share with people, that God wants to be intimately involved with your life, and He wants you enmeshed in His in a way where you're walking the way He says to walk, because I believe that that's where victory comes from. Not from going and worshiping your pastor and giving all the money that you don't have to church, and all of these other things that we do as rituals, and then we get frustrated with God. And we actually end up doing a lot of things that God never said to do because someone told us to do it. So we need to know the word ourselves and then do it.
And just follow the walk, your personal work, a personal journey.
Yes. Because at the end of the day, we will all stand before God by ourselves.
Yeah.
And it won't matter who your pastor was. I don't even think God's going to look at how much money you gave.
No.
He's going to look at your life.
Yeah. Like my mom always says, salvation belongs to one person.
Yes.
Don't vote for yourself.
Yes, it's very true.
So now you're in Ghana. It's supposed to work with you into like what sign of jobs were you doing while you're in Ghana? Were you still singing?
Yes. I was still traveling abroad quite a bit, writing books, flying out to speaking engagements. I very rarely speak in Ghana, actually. I speak everywhere else. South Africa, Nigeria, England, all over the U.S. I've spoken, at the Potter's House, Creflo Dollar's Place, Eddie Lawson, all the big ministries I've spoken at.
But why Ghana? Why? Like, you're home. Why not the home?
A prophet is without honor in his own home. And actually,
I knew that was going to be you.
That's okay. It gives me peace.
I knew that was going to be you.
Now, don't everybody start calling me now.
We do need to be sure to have some motivation speaks in Ghana. We need motivation. So right now, I have a question. You're a Christian woman, and there's this movement going on, this radical movement going on with feminists, going against religion, especially Christianity. What's your opinion on that? What you say?
I think they're misinformed. First of all, God is the greatest advocate of women there is. Why else would he say things like, husbands, take proper care of your wives or I won't answer your prayers? Why would he say, I'm going to create a woman to help the man? You don't create a weaker vessel to help.
Yeah.
You create someone that is on equal standing and has specific strengths that will aid that person. So God is really a woman advocate. And he made us intrinsically powerful. We're already powerful. Before we do or say anything, women are powerful. So if you don't know who you are, then you have to do power instead of be power. And I believe that it's a very dangerous, thin line when we spend so much time massaging ourselves that I'm going to be strong, I'm going to be strong, I'm going to be strong. What about the men? What about your children? Yeah. Because strong women without strong men create a damaged society and create rebellious children. So I think that it is very important to have balance. Our president just said that women need to work more on getting women into power positions where decisions are being made, and took a beating for it, which I did not understand, because I think it's right. I think it's true that we should not sit around just murmuring and complaining, but actually have a strategy for moving ourselves into strategic positions to be part of the people at the table who make the decisions. Because the people who are at the table making decisions make decisions for themselves, not for anyone else.
So right now it's like the radical, because I feel like if you don't follow the radical feminist movement, you're not feminist, which
I'm very feminist. I'm very pro-woman. You asked me about the art in my house. All my art is around women and children.
Yes.
I've got a few men thrown in, but I am an advocate for women, but in the right way.
Yeah, I feel like the feminist is like equality, which whatever it means to you. But then right now it's just this superiority over men, which I'm not.
Right, it's shifted, it's become perverted. I think that when it started, it was a good movement because it was about equal pay, which is fair.
Yeah.
You know, equal access to vote, to this and that. Yes, those are all honorable things. But when we started burning bras and beating down men and saying we don't need men, that's when I said, And even the leader of the feminist movement went, she got married and they all got mad at her. So there you go.
So right now, so a lot of people are saying Christianity subjects women, which
but that's not really true. No.
So is that a way you can clear it out for the audience that are watching to understand the difference between subjection and submission?
Well, submission is a power move. Submission is not a passive thing at all. Submission is an aggressive decision you make to be a partner, to be a player, to be a teammate. Submission literally puts you in position to be blessed. Because if you're railing against someone, You don't get favor that way. So, but when you say, how can we work on this together?
Yeah.
How can we be team players? Then we make movements together. When we look at a soccer team, when you look at a football team, basketball, or any team, everyone knows their position. Nobody's hollering about equal rights. They know that each position is strategic for moving the team forward to victory. So we've got to get back to understanding where our power is, how to use it effectively, without becoming unattractive,
And also understanding where this radical movements is from, and from what is the root of all this radical movement.
Well, there's a scripture in Revelations that says that the dragon tried to drown the woman with the flood from his mouth. And I look at that and I see the flood coming from the media trying to drown the woman and take her downstream in a way that she was never designed to go. You know, if you're talking about being super women, Amazon women, even they needed men in order to keep the population going. So you've got to have men. So why not empower those men to be strong, to cover you, protect you the way you want, and to champion your causes? Because a powerful woman is the woman that lays down next to her husband at night and whispers things into his ear that makes him get up and want to fight for her. Now, if you're fighting that man, he's going to fight you. He's not going to fight for you.
As you've heard that, and I hope you got some inspiration from it, some motivation from it, and also something to provoke the thoughts. Make sure you know the cause and the reasons behind most radical movements. Children from America to Ghana. So what's the name of the...
Well, actually, I don't do it. I've partnered with a friend of mine that's a DJ in my hometown of Muskegon, Michigan, in America. I lived in Chicago after that, but I grew up in Muskegon. And every year, Paul Billings brings a group of young people that have excelled in school under, stressful conditions because they're inner city. And so he gets those that have done well in school, and they are sponsored to take a trip to Ghana. And when they come, I have a reception for them. They have a naming ceremony. We talk about the importance of knowing who we are, and the foundation of what that looks like. And it's a very healing time for them, and they go back changed. So I would really love to do more of that because I feel that part of my mission in Ghana is to be a bridge. People overseas have very odd and strange ideas about Ghana and Africa, and they ask very crazy questions. I don't know if you've ever seen any of my little turban tales, it's like, do you have hot water? It's like, really? I live here. Why would you even ask that question?
trees.
Exactly. And then they come and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So one by one, I've just been talking people into coming. And I'm excited about the year of return because I feel like it's a great time and it's been a good excuse for a lot of people to come without fear and see things and go back with a different mindset. Because they all say the same thing. This is not the Africa we see on television.
Yeah.
No, we're doing quite well for ourselves. Thank you.
Oh, shall you close out? We are doing quite well.
Yes.
I thought you said hometown was Michigan.
Well, that was hometown. I'm home.
Oh,
I'm at home.
That was a slick movement. Saw that. Home, okay.
Yeah.
Also, what inspired you to want to pair up with your friend to bring the children?
Literally, I was in Muskegon, and he found out I was in town, and so he asked if I'd come and do an interview. And when he came, he said, I'm coming. And then one of the young men in my ministry here knew him. It was so weird. And so he was like, I was like, what? So we connected that way. And it became a partnership that worked. And so they come every year. They're actually going to be coming in another week. Yeah.
You mentioned ministry.
Yes.
So what ministry do you have in Ghana right now? I know it's the Relevance ministry.
Yes, Relevance. It's a music ministry. We were a church for 2 years, and then we felt really burdened to just do outreach and events. We write all of our own music. We call it Rockspiration. And we've done 2 specific, really special programs that we take around and offer to churches for Christmas and for Easter. And it is all original music, taking you on the journey from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelations on each topic, because Easter and Christmas were in the mind of God long before it happened.
And one thing I really love in ministry is the fact that you don't only perform in churches.
Right, we go to bars, we've done Republic, Plus 233, we've done corporate events,
So technically when you say the bridge between connecting people to God and doing it in a way where you just enjoy it. And going, if the mountain would not move to, was it Moses? They go to the mountain, right?
Well, most of us are missing the Great Commission at this point. We're so comfy in church, and it's the Us For It No More Club, and but really we're called to the highways and the byways, and we're supposed to be out doing outreach, winning souls to Christ. That is the first thing that we're all charged to do, and we choose to do it musically.
Music therapy, which is beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. Our final segment is called the Big Six.
Okay.
So it's a statement of either or. So I ask you a statement and you choose one, and you can't plead the fifth.
Oh.
But then, see, Homelanders, if Michelle doesn't plead the fifth, she's still, you know what, I'm gonna keep that. I'm not gonna say anything, but let's see. Formal or traditional? Actually, when you say, wait, hold on. Actually, when I ask the either or statement, you do have, whatever you pick, you have to answer why.
Okay. Formal or traditional one?
Yes. So my final statement is going to make sense. It's an either or statement. So I pick one. I say the statement and you pick one, but then you have to explain why.
Okay.
Ready for it?
Okay.
Okay. Formal or traditional?
Formal or traditional what?
Attire, anything. Attire, just an attire.
Traditional. I love traditional. I don't know. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel proud. I love the colors. I love the way we carry ourselves. I love the way we celebrate our bodies in traditional clothes. I love it.
Okay. Politician or preacher? In this sentence that we're in right now. In Ghana.
I gotta go with preacher because I'm a preacher.
Why?
Because I believe that the basis for everything in life is God. And if it's spoken and taught correctly, it's a life changer for the good.
Use your brains.
Brains.
Why?
Because brains make you beautiful. Brains are the answer for all the other stuff. If you've got brains, you can be beautiful. If you're beautiful with no brains, that's a catastrophe.
Money or fame?
Money.
Why?
Because if you have money, you can get fame. If you have money, you can solve a lot of issues. So, yeah, money.
Structured routine or go with the flow?
Well, I'm a very go with the flow kind of person.
So you would choose go with the flow?
Yes, I love living life spontaneously. Sometimes I really wish I could be a structured person, but I just kind of get a little bored at that thought, and I can't stick with that very long because too many interesting things happen in my life. So I've got to go with the flow, especially in Ghana. You know, Ghana's a very spontaneous place. You can get up in the morning with one plan and somebody show up at your door and 6 hours later you're still having tea and your whole day's out the window. So I mean, I don't know how well structure really works here.
This one is my best one, but then kind of defeats the purpose. I'm still gonna ask you, sing or dance?
I gotta sing.
Knew it.
I gotta sing. I mean, like singing for me is like breathing. I can't stop singing. I'm always singing. Even when I'm not performing, I'm always singing.
So that's your camera right there. Just blow us with the vocals.
Oh, now when people say that, then your brain goes blank. You do know that.
Nope.
It's like, sing. Oh, sing what? I don't know what to sing. What should I sing? You got a thought on that?
No.
I know who God says I am. What He says I am. Where He says I'm at. I know who I am. Hey, and that's why I don't have to do power, because I am power.
Whoa.
Bam.
That was the end of our mixes. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And don't go anywhere. Actually, hold up. My final question. I'm an actress.
Yes!
How do we end up on that note?
Quite accidentally. Someone was walking down the street and asked if they could use my house for a movie called Single and Married. Know anything about that little movie?
Yes. and tomorrow never comes.
Yes, yes. Well, they ended up asking me while they were here if I could do a part. And after that, people started calling me, and I ended up doing If Tomorrow Never Comes, Candle in the Wind, Love Regardless, and I just filmed my first movie called First Love that I've written and produced, and Taya has also produced. Hopefully by the end of the year. We're in editing now.
I can't wait.
It's a romantic comedy. You're gonna love it.
I can't wait to see that. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. She just spoke to Michelle McKinney Hammond, and stay tuned for the next episode. Don't go anywhere. That just yeah. Yeah. No, hold on. My final question to you would be, what advice would you give?
We're gonna put you out. Okay.
What advice would you give anyone that is going through the journey to find God?
Don't find God through hearsay. Find God through personal encounter. He wants to meet each one of us where we live. And He loves you. He loves you. I mean, I can't stress how much God loves us, but He did by giving His Son. So anyone that would make that type of sacrifice will go to the ends of the earth for you. And if they'll go to the ends of the earth for you, they'll never leave you or forsake you. And God has strategies for your life that men don't. So God has strategies for your life that men don't have. So in order to have divine wisdom, you have to know a divine God. And don't worship pastors, worship God.
Well, you heard that. The journey is a personal one, and take that step on your own, and make sure you know God for yourself.
Yes.
He wants to meet you at any point in your life whatsoever. Don't worship pastors, in Michelle's words. And also, you're watching Homeland: The Story of the Returnee. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. See you next time.